What's up, everyone? Bem-vindo. 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 What's up, everyone? Bem-vindo a Lisboa. Okay, so today's question is from informally underscore Yaya. She asked, getting over the imposter syndrome of launching a new pivot. So I have pivoted, I would say at least a dozen times. It depends on when you started following me, but I would say every couple years I probably pivot. And I'm here talking to a good friend, Kathy, and it's interesting. We were talking about how sometimes we can't follow someone for too long if they're doing the same thing. Like when you are a consumer, like take yourself out of the creator hat or the creator seat. But when you're a consumer, you expect a new plot to develop. You expect something different to happen. You expect that people will naturally go through things in life. You want to see them try new pursuits, talk about their failures, talk about their love, talk about their kids, something, but it keeps you engaged. And the last time you probably watched a show that you really loved, there were so many cliffhangers and plot twists and dramatic moments that made you just want to lean in and keep watching. So consider yourself like a show, and people want to always feel like they're leaning in and getting a front seat to the next plot. So let's talk about the first part of the question, getting over the imposter syndrome. So I did a TEDx talk on imposter syndrome back in 2020. And one of the main things that I mentioned was how there is no getting over something that is meant to protect us. Imposter syndrome literally exists to shield us from experiencing any type of discomfort. So if you are trying to, I don't know, it's like you're trying to ride a bike without a helmet and saying, I don't care if I fall. I don't need a helmet to protect me. It's like, yes, you do. Imposter syndrome is literally your helmet, and it's trying to protect you from doing things outside of your comfort zone. Because a lot of our egoic self and our identity is shaped around people having a higher perception of us than we actually are or living in. So, in order for us to protect our ego, we always want to maintain like a high standard or high quality and make sure people always see us in a positive light. And anything that could potentially compromise that, meaning us failing, us trying something new, us not excelling at something, this compromises our identity. It makes us have a weak ego. And yeah, we feel kind of worse about ourselves. So understand that imposter syndrome is in the car riding with you at every point of your journey. Your goal is not to kick imposter syndrome out the car. Your goal is just to make sure imposter syndrome is not driving the car. Give it shotgun, put it in the back seat, put it in the trunk, okay? But let it stay in the car with you because it is saying, you know what? This is new territory. Stay humble. You know what? You're doing this for the first time. Seek mentorship. You know what? This is, brand new for you. Make sure you're at least reading a book or doing some research. So imposter syndrome is actually a beautiful thing because it keeps you a student. Without imposter syndrome, you might have like this what do you call it? Not a savior complex, but this God complex where you feel like you're untouchable. You feel like you're immune to failure and that everything is just always going to work out for you. And I think you can have healthy favor and healthy faith in what God has called you to do and how he will open doors for you and make room for you. But there is nothing in life where I'm like, oh, I got it. Like I can come with a healthy level of confidence, but I will also have a healthy level of humility, being like, you know what? It might not work out. And because my confidence is not contingent upon life always going my way, I can wake up every day with gratitude and excitement because I'm just happy to be playing the game. So you got to understand that your confidence and your happiness and your gratitude cannot be so connected to your ability to always succeed at everything you do. So let imposter syndrome have a seat in your car. Be okay with feeling doubtful or shy or afraid of anything that you're trying to do next. And yeah, just give it a name. I think I've talked about this during one of Tony Robbins' events that I spoke at. I talked about how I gave my imposter syndrome a name. I personified her. Her name is Rachel. And so I talked to Rachel as a person and I let her know, you know what, today's a big day. I appreciate that you are here. I appreciate that you have done your best to keep me safe, but I don't need you today. So have a coffee, sit in the corner. I got this one, okay? And I try to have compassion for the version of me that doesn't want to look like a fool, that doesn't want to forget her words, that doesn't want to mess up a huge opportunity. I remember actually when I was speaking in Tony Robbins' studio, this massive, felt like a warehouse. It was huge. It felt like I was inside of a football stadium, like an enclosed football stadium. And I remember the organizer was like being like, okay, Glo, you're next. You're after Tony. So it's either be ready in 10 minutes or 2 hours. And I said, what? And mind you, Tony, when he speaks, he has the room at like 61, 62. So like I'm freezing. And so I'm in the green room trying to keep my hands warm. I'm like trying to keep my legs agile, but I'm like locking up and I feel my joints getting tense. And so I'm like walking in circles. I'm trying to keep my body heat and body temperature up. I have a blanket over me. I'm doing stretches. And so I'm like, a 10-minute routine to get on stage versus 2 hours is a very different scenario. But Tony doesn't have a clock. And they often joke inside of that world that we're on Tony time. So there's no schedule. Tony's done talking when he's done talking. And I had the incredible honor, privilege, challenge of following someone who captivates a room that few others can. So I say all that because imposter syndrome was my heart that entire time. And all I could think of was like, Glow, just get out there and do what you do. Bring the energy, bring the joy, bring the excitement, bring the love, bring the sincerity, bring the heart, bring the passion. I don't have to fake or posture for something that's already a part of me. I don't need imposter syndrome to protect me from who I am. Because if I'm a naturally joyful person, I don't have to be afraid of not being joyful on stage as a part of my identity. So went on a little bit of a tangent, but that's that part. Now, launching a new pivot. If you are trying to, for example, let's say all of your page, you talked about, um, I don't know, you talked about cooking, and now you're like, okay, Glow, I'm ready to pivot, and I don't know, I'm ready to pivot and talk about designing my living room, like interior design. And cooking and interior design, you can connect them, Yaya, but the goal here is that you're never just completely removing one thing and bringing a new thing to the center stage. When I think about my favorite show, The Office, if The Office ever took away the main character, and well, actually, it did do this. Okay, that's beside the point. But if The Office ever so abruptly changed the plot and made the characters swap who they were at their core, I would be like, wait, no, I followed Jim and Pam because of who they were. So if Jim and Pam are no longer Jim and Pam, I'm now confused as to what the rest of the show is going to be like because up until this point, the plot was built around Jim and Pam's character being how they portrayed. So all of a sudden they change it without me being seeing it coming. I'm like, well, why would they do that? So similarly, your audience is watching, like, wait, what interior design? Did you get a new house? Like, what's happening? So you got to introduce the plot. It is okay to pivot, but pivot with the plot, pivot with a climax, a storyline, a narrative in mind. Because when people see the context of like what's happening, they're more likely to stay tuned and kind of be excited for what it is that you're going to share next. And understand that at any given moment, you're probably sharing and rotating 3 different plots. I've talked about this in a previous video, so be sure to subscribe or watch any of the other videos on my Creative Clarity for Entrepreneurs playlist because plot A, plot B, plot C. Plot A is the dominating narrative. It's probably 60% of your content. Plot B is probably 20 to 30% of your content. And then plot C is the remaining percentage. But you will always have 3 kind of rotating storylines happening at the same time. Maybe you talk about your love life, then you talk about your travel life, and then you talk about your work life. You decide and determine which percentage is connected to which topic based on the income you want to make. For example, if there's something that you're doing that has a lucrative offer attached to it, you probably want to make sure that's 60% of your content. So 60% of the time, people are being aware that this is something that you do for a living. And then that leads to whatever your offer is. So again, yeah, back to your question of like, how do I get over my imposter syndrome when I launch the new pivot? Who are you afraid of being judged by? Okay. There's likely someone that we have in mind, a family member or a friend, who we are hiding from because in the past they've made fun of us, they've mocked us, or they secretly like want us to fail. And we want so badly to prove them wrong. So we are constantly posturing, making sure that if they ever see a post, they'll see us only in a positive light. And that's not the reality. Like when I think about when I was trying to become a successful travel blogger, and I wasn't sure if my mom was like stalking me because I had her blocked, but I'm sure she figured out a way. These I wasn't sure if she was watching me. So I feel like sometimes I would make posts being like, all glory to God, because if I wasn't successful, at least she knew that I was still, going to church and stuff. So every now and then I would put in a post about how much I love church. Like I was trying to still earn her approval just in case she was still watching, but I couldn't earn the approval through a profession. So I was like, okay, at least maybe she can be proud that I'm still, going to church and, reading the Bible. So she was always a person I had in mind in terms of like, man, I hope she doesn't think that I'm failing because I shared something vulnerable. I hope she doesn't think that I'm bringing shame to the family name because I'm doing things this way. So whoever that person is, try to put them as like a background character because you are making them the lead story, or you're making them the lead protagonist in your story, and they don't have to be. Okay. I think it's important that whether it's for your parents, your friends, your enemies, you diminish and decrease the character that they play in your movie. You're giving them way too much power. So don't be afraid to be starting something different. Don't be afraid to look like a beginner. Don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to pivot. And with everything that you're doing, just know that like I have more respect for the person that will try the same thing, or sorry, I have more respect for the person that will try a different thing 10 times than the person that is only doing one thing and they don't want to ever, you know, be seen as a failure trying something new. There is so much life to be lived. There is so much opportunity on the internet. There is so much, there is so much up for grabs. And the person that chooses the safe route, nothing against them, it's just not for me. So I have a lot of respect for the people that pivot, for the people that evolve, that for the people that aren't afraid to not have all the answers before they start. So yeah, I'm giving you this invitation to like, it's an invitation and a permission slip to do what you want. Whoever it is that is in your mind that you're just like, man, I hope they're not judging me. They are. And they're or not. Half the time people aren't thinking about us as much as we think they are. And we're so preoccupied with maintaining this like image of success or this image of perfection that we want others to carry. As soon as you drop that and you liberate yourself from having to hold on to something that was never your responsibility in the first place, like it is a very freeing life when you just stop caring. Like do good work, care about your standard, put your head down and do what you need to do, but do not care about all the small details that don't matter. Because if you ever watch the news cycle, something that's a headline today is gone tomorrow. You cannot be preoccupied with what people are thinking about you, how they are perceiving you, um, and how that's stopping you from doing what you want to do. Okay. So, closing words. Um, I really feel like imposter syndrome is something that you should just develop a better relationship with, not something to get rid of. And then launching a new pivot, start introducing it. Maybe it's in your stories first. Maybe it's a post, a vulnerable post. Maybe it's through words or a carousel, but it doesn't have to be this like massive launch. You do not have to go out and just say, okay, this is who I am now. I'm Yaya, and I've officially decided to make this page about raising dogs. That kind of feels random. And every time I've pivoted, I've never reintroduced myself. I've never made it a thing. And I had a friend, Sean, he would be like, Flo, I see how you do it, but I don't see how you do it. And he was like, you move so smooth. And I just, by the time I recognize, I go to your page and you're a whole new person, and I don't even know when it happened. And I love that because it's so subtle. I never make an abrupt shift where I'm like a whole new identity. I just slowly start introducing and incorporating and, building out this new person or persona, and until it makes sense or until it doesn't. But I allow social media to be more of an experiment, and I allow people who consume me to have an experience. I am not locked into one identity, one mode, one format, one voice. I am this constantly changing, evolving, growing, flawed human, and I bring people along for the journey. So I hope you can also adapt to that mantra. All right, y'all. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. If you enjoyed this and you want me to be your coach for the next 90 days, for only 50 cents a day, there's something in the product description for you. It's called the Creative Reset. So visit mycreativereset.com for tips like this and more to get clarity, to get more creative, and to help you finally monetize and launch your idea. I'm out of breath. Okay, that was fun. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.